Hello, dear friends, and everyone gathered here today. It's wonderful to see all of you joining us. I hope you're all doing well and ready for an exciting time together. I hope that I can be heard and seen clearly and without any issues or interruptions. If so, please put plus signs in the chat. And we will gradually start with you. Today we are broadcasting on 3 sources. These are the official social media platforms for the airships of the new generation on vKontakte, YouTube, and Rutube. This is the name of our investment project that we will be discussing today. So I kindly ask you to please share the links with your friends, family, acquaintances, and colleagues. Tell them that we have already started and that they can confidently join in without any hesitation. Moreover, through these same links, people will be able to watch the recording so you can send it out. Even if people don't access it now, they will see it later. I also kindly ask you to please like this video and share it on your social networks and perhaps even further beyond. Remember that our project is an important community initiative, it is funded by private investors, and it is your activity that is essential in determining how quickly the project will develop. We also have a retransmission on Solar Group's resources where it can also be watched, but we did not include them in the announcement. Those who watch there are the ones who are directly subscribed to the company's official social networks. Don't forget that there are other social networks such as Telegram, vKontakte, and basically YouTube, and everything else that. This is where official news is released, showing how the project is developing, so don't miss this information. Social networks are actively growing right now, which means people are interested, and I am sure it will be interesting for you as well. My name is Pavel Filipov, and I am the head of advertising and public relations at Solar Group. Solar Group is certainly indeed a financial company that develops a variety of innovative projects through collective investments, and today we will in fact talk about our project Airships of the New Generation. Of course, we have been working in the crowdfunding investment market for more than 1 year. We have been doing this for 7.5 years. During this time, we have a considerable number of successes, results, and things we can be proud of. In particular, we currently have approximately over 500,000 individuals registered on our investment platform. We have over 70,000 investors and more than 20,000 partners who promote our project worldwide. People from various countries participate, not just from Russia. Today we are indeed currently at a Russian webinar. Africa, India, Asia, and many other regions and countries are also actively participating as well. Our first project, SOLARGROUP, is absolutely indeed currently in the final stage. We had planned for 20 stages, or as they say now, rounds of funding. Currently, we have completed 19 out of 20 possible stages. Very soon, we will move on to the final 20th stage of funding. And right now, the enterprise that we built with the money from private investors is almost launched, and very soon, commercial activities will begin there. Currently, right now, there is a commission working that is supposed to either allow this enterprise to operate or send some modifications, which is also possible. In any case, this will happen in the near future. As a platform, we have always said that we will continue to look for various interesting projects so that people can indeed participate in them and so that we can develop various interesting technologies in Russia. Moreover, we saw that this model worked in the first project. More than approximately $90 million were raised for the first project using this method of webinars, social media, and YouTube. People respond to this. They find it interesting. We were looking for various other projects that could, on one hand, provide the same financial return, and on the other hand, be just as global and interesting, because in crowdfunding investments, this is also very important. People should experience a certain emotion. They should want this to come into being. And, as I mentioned regarding the return, yes, of course, it should be commercially viable. A lot has been thoroughly checked, filtered, and indeed studied. There have been many different good inventors, and there were many strange projects that were simply ideas for creating all sorts of incredible inventions. A lot has passed through us. Interestingly enough, during our conversation, we stumbled upon the fascinating, captivating, and intriguing topic of airships. And the more we truly and deeply immersed ourselves in it, the more we understood its potential opportunities. We have seen that the industry itself is beginning to emerge and become significantly relevant all over the world. This happens for a variety of reasons, including the fact that technology does not stand still, and the fact that, for example, the covering of this airship was made, from cow intestines. Yes, 100 years ago, of course, this does not happen now. Modern technology indeed allows this type of transport, which previously had some flaws but was very highly effective and could have circled the Earth or transported passengers from Europe to America 100 years ago to reach a new level now. We are not the only ones who understand this. Right now, very active work is being done in this direction in many different countries. There are many projects in America as well. One of the most popular is the Airship company founded by Google co-founder Sergey Brin. Currently, the Chinese are actively developing this industry along with the Europeans. And everyone certainly promises to generate for their investors, or they plan to make incredible money on their own capital, just like those companies that are already present in the market in one way or another. For example, there is the company Zeppelin, which is located in Germany and operates regular flights in the city of Friedrichshafen. By the way, I have flown on an airship there. They earn between 100 to 150 million euros a year, purely by having a few airships and providing services to tourists. The ticket is expensive. The minimum ticket price, in my opinion, starts at approximately 400 euros for a 45-minute flight. And of course, it's a profitable business, so to speak. And this is certainly indeed only about tourism. The more we explored very deeply into this whole story, the more we understood how relevant it is. And undoubtedly, of course, the first thing that truly prompted serious reflection was indeed the truly dedicated and talented team. In Russia, fortunately, there is a sufficiently strong school of airship enthusiasts and dedicated experts. People who have been involved with airships for many years, who built airships in Russia, who commercially operated them and sold these airships, and they understand this from both a comprehensive and detailed engineering perspective and a thorough business perspective. This was indeed also a very important and significant element, without which we certainly would not have launched this investment project. There is indeed such a team. Many of you are already familiar with them, and we will of course continue to introduce you to all the team members who are getting involved in the project in one way or another, and new people keep joining every day. So, what exactly has perhaps indeed drawn our interest to the topic of airships? Exactly, perhaps. Let's start with the fact that the airship itself as an aircraft is probably the only flying machine in the world that, unlike all others, does not attempt to violate the laws of physics, but rather flies by using those very laws. It is important to note that in its design and operation it functions in a harmonious manner. This unique characteristic allows it to operate efficiently and safely, making it a marvel of engineering. When this balloon is inflated with a certain gas, currently it is predominantly helium, which does not burn unlike the hydrogen of a century ago, and it allows the airship to rise into the sky without any effort, thus not consuming any energy for that. Accordingly, in fact, the aerial vehicle does not expend any energy to remain in the air. And then, when we have some kind of aircraft that effortlessly and smoothly ascends into the sky without any hassle, does not consume energy, can stay in the air for months, and can be of the smallest sizes and accordingly the smallest purposes, we begin to understand which industries this could be applicable to. And of course, if we make some kind of gradation like this, then if we take relatively small flying vehicles such as drones, they can be several meters long, and these are already well-known various drones. Such devices can quite easily be made autonomous and unmanned today. For example, they can deliver various small goods in a variety of ways, conduct weather reconnaissance, and photograph the terrain. In general, transporting any equipment needed in various, including hard-to-reach places, is extremely convenient and, most importantly, very inexpensive and affordable because, well, today no other aircraft can, for example, hover in the mountains and stay there for several months without consuming any energy at all, such as solar or wind. Well, of course, I am being a little bit sly. It does consume some energy because when it is in the air, the propellers are working to make very slight adjustments, which requires some energy, but it's minimal. This allows the device to stay in the air for months, and of course it is extremely inexpensive, such as cheap. When we take larger vehicles, the lift capacity is usually measured for airships, for example, a lift capacity of 2 tons, 10 tons, or 15 tons, such as these. That is, in essence, this is how much cargo, so to speak, in a manner of speaking, this aircraft can lift. Here are the areas of application. All those I mentioned still remain. Goods can be transported, equipment can be moved, and some reconnaissance can be conducted. But here, first of all, there are various tourist options that are very profitable. We know this based on the companies that already exist in the world. These are various transportation options available for cargo that can transport, among other things, such as construction materials or oversized and non-standard cargo, and they do so along a direct trajectory, for example. These are various relatively small medical centers that, for example, are already using this in Africa, and such a device is flown to remote areas to deliver various medications. This is undoubtedly very interesting and important. Of course, these are various military technologies, and there is a huge range of applications, including intelligence and various other goals and tasks. If we consider the huge vehicles which can weigh approximately 40 tons, 50 tons, and 100 tons, there are even tasks and goals to build ones that weigh 100 and 200 tons. There are some people who plan to build as much as 500 tons. This is, of course, a task that is not just a fantasy, but it is difficult. Before building such a device, of course, we will need to construct smaller ones to test the technologies, as we plan to do later, after some time. Yes, from the perspective of the laws of physics, it is possible, but there will be many nuances to check, so to speak, in practice. How can such large devices be used? It is clear that this involves cargo transportation. Moreover, transporting cargo using airships, when compared to alternatives like helicopters and cargo planes, typically involves a chain of transport methods, starting with an airplane, then a train, followed by a truck, and then some other means. So, the airship is significantly cheaper and more cost-effective when measured in terms of both cost per kilometer or in kilograms of cargo, as well as resulting in lower production costs and overall efficiency. These calculations exist, and they are even available from people on our team who are working on this project, including those based on the devices they have already created. Of course, these are indeed already options. I am talking about passengers here, and it is possible to accommodate more passengers. Therefore, this is either, let's say, a full-fledged Boeing that transports passengers back and forth. But here the question is how economically feasible this will be. Because airplanes fly faster, people want to cover distances more quickly, and comfort is secondary. Therefore, it will probably be something like a liner, where comfort is essential, and where various restaurants, dance clubs, reading rooms, and so on can be placed on the airship. By the way, this is not my idea. It was like this, for example, on the Hindenburg airship that you may have perhaps heard about, and indeed this was 100 years ago. Everything I describe was there, and people traveled with such comfort and ease. Furthermore, we can place a variety of mobile clinics, including essential ones, on such airships. This can be useful for hard-to-reach locations. This may potentially be useful for various military, intelligence, and strategic applications. And such devices are already being used in some places, in various parts of the world, in different regions and in multiple locations, as I mentioned earlier today. Also, it's clear regarding oversized cargo, I have already mentioned this. In principle, all these vehicles can handle it, but it may be more relevant for larger vehicles. On some webinars, we also explained why Roscosmos, for example, is particularly interested in airships, because once a rocket is designed and manufactured, it needs to be delivered to the testing site. The question is, how can this be done? The rocket is very, very long. Now, for example, there are wind turbines that are standing and spinning, and they have huge blades. How can they be delivered to the location? They are currently transported in parts and then assembled on site. Special routes have to be planned because you are transporting such a huge item that obviously does not fit into any cargo compartments of a vehicle. This is time-consuming, expensive, and requires careful planning on how to do it. The airship could, in a very straightforward and uncomplicated manner, simply lift this hypothetical rocket and deliver it to the designated point without any difficulty, hassle, or trouble. At the very least, it is certainly indeed undoubtedly convenient, and at most, it is very financially advantageous and reasonable. If we talk about a variety of all sorts of astonishingly incredible options, well, incredible because we don't see such things today, but in general, if there is a corresponding order, it can also be done. Yes, we imagined a lot of such things, like a luxurious casino on an airship, or some kind of exclusive club on an airship, and other exciting possibilities, and other thrilling adventures, and other imaginative ideas. Anything you want. I see, a clinic, an entertainment center. There was certainly indeed also a very excellent idea. A civil registry office on an airship to get married in the skies. Such ideas also exist. All of this is technically feasible. Of course, we will primarily concentrate not on fantasies nor on some beautiful projects and aspirations that we would like. We will go where there is money, where it will be possible to earn. And now we have a clear understanding of how this can be done. Now I will slowly and steadily and carefully approach this step by step. In general, in other words, in essence, today the direction of state building is actively developing all over the world. Not only in Russia, but also in other countries around the world, by the way. If we talk about Russia, today we have a government directive on the development and advancement of the airship industry and its related technologies and its promising future in the field of transportation. And now, a large number of companies that can develop airships in one way or another have become increasingly active in various sectors in the industry, especially in the global market. And now I think that in Russia we will certainly see more than one similar project that will indeed be engaged in airships, and that's a good thing. The market is undoubtedly quite large and interesting, and I definitely believe there is enough room for everyone here. At the same time, we absolutely plan to become leaders in this field. I am confident that we will succeed thanks to the dedicated and talented team we have assembled, and of course due to the substantial funding that I am sure we will be able to attract with the unwavering support of you, the viewers, and private investors, who I genuinely believe will find this opportunity incredibly interesting and worthwhile. Now, moving on to what exactly we will be doing next, let's discuss this in more detail and depth. As part of our significant and impactful project, we plan to raise an amount of approximately $100 million. This amount is planned to be raised over a span of approximately 3 to 5 years, and with this steady pace of funding, we strongly believe that we will manage. Why? Because we, in essence, depend heavily upon our previous project, on the funding rates and resources that have been there in recent years. What is the purpose of this money at all? Let's figure out what assets will be created within the company. The first is, of course, the design bureau. Let me definitely start drawing now. I hope you can definitely see it. Friends, for now I will move to the clip chart. I remind you that a lot depends on your activity. Like, share, and invite as many viewers as possible to this broadcast, because the more viewers there are, the faster the project will develop. I think you all understand this. But for some reason, likes are not always ready to be given all at once. So, let's move on to the practical part. What do we do with the budget that I just mentioned? First, an enterprise will be created, so to speak, a design bureau, which will focus on innovative solutions and cutting-edge technology. What will it represent in itself, and how will it impact the industry? First and foremost, the Design Bureau in this particular case refers to the comprehensive and well-equipped facilities where there is a highly skilled and dedicated team of professionals, state-of-the-art equipment, extensive and relevant documentation, numerous patents, and everything necessary for this team. This team acts as the brain and central hub of the project, working diligently to design, produce, and independently utilize resources from a wide array of various contractors. They are tasked with creating different types of aircraft, relying heavily on their vast reservoir of past experience and the new innovative experience that will emerge and develop within the framework of this ambitious and groundbreaking project. There are no plans to build any buildings, enterprises, or anything else. It is planned, at least in the first stage, to do this in rented spaces. And by the way, this is exactly where we are today. We are currently in the office of the company. Well, you see, indeed, webinars will additionally be held here as well. This is the company KB. Well, let's first talk a little bit more about the land and its significance. We have the land which we will either need to lease or rent, or we will acquire or obtain it in collaboration or partnership with someone, or we will purchase it and then we will transfer it to what we need in some way or another. We will use it for its intended purpose, right? So what will we have on this land? We will have 2 additional hangars. Here are the 2 hangars. Why do we need hangars? Hangars are vital for aircraft maintenance and protection. A hangar is a place where aircraft will be serviced, assembled, repaired, and sometimes stored. Especially during strong winds or storms, they ensure aircraft are serviced, assembled, repaired, and stored safely. During strong winds or storms, hangars provide essential protection. Initially, in the first stage, it is planned to build approximately 2 hangars. Further, we also have plans for production. What is production? Of course, it is such a complex project, including a complex product, the aircraft. Of course, such products are rarely made within just one company in the industry. Many essential components and important elements can and should be ordered from external companies, such as various institutes and specialized firms that focus on specific areas and other related entities. However, a number of critically important components will certainly necessarily be manufactured in-house to ensure that critically different technologies do not leak out of the company. Because, one way or another, this is intellectual property, and we should be the only ones to know how we implemented certain solutions, so that others cannot at least copy us. A frequent question is about the school. More precisely, in fact, it's not the school that's actually the question, but rather who will indeed be flying, as a matter of fact, in reality. Who will be flying and who will work as cabin crew members, who will be attending to passengers, including who will serve, and who will be responsible for everything else. Of course, indeed, in order to engage with aircraft like these, despite the fact that we have specialists in our country who fly airships and are capable of doing so, for truly mass usage, we will need to train our own specialists, and we will do this within the framework of a school that is also planned to be organized. Speaking of the aircraft themselves, it is planned to design and start serial production of 2 aircraft at this current stage. One with a load capacity of approximately up to roughly 2 tons, the other 10 tons each, and it is precisely these hangars specifically that are currently being built, which are under construction for the purpose of accommodating these 2 aircraft. Today we have already talked in detail about the purposes for which these aircraft can be used. That is to say, you could call those small aircraft, although this one is already medium-sized, and this one is definitely medium-sized. That is to say, we can even consider it a competitor to the Mi-8 helicopter, the most widely produced helicopter in the world, with around 16,000 to 18,000 units manufactured over time. However, the tasks that this helicopter performs, at least in terms of transporting various cargoes, can be carried out much more efficiently by a dirigible of a similar class. Using these 2 hangars, we will be able to produce approximately about 20-30 such aircraft each year in total with the help of these facilities. The production plan involves manufacturing approximately between 20 to 25 units of these advanced aircraft models annually. Based on the number of aircraft that we can produce and the cost that we are estimating, we can already understand the potential profits here. Considering the current market trends and the demand for our aircraft, we are confident that the production numbers will align with our financial projections. Before we move on to this, it is indeed also very important to discuss what SP is. What is SP? SP refers to external projects, such as various external initiatives and collaborations. What does this mean? When we have the appropriate infrastructure ready, the company will be able to earn not only from its own aircraft, but it will also be able to fulfill various special orders for different clients based on their specific needs. For example, we talked today about Roscosmos. There are applications from various companies including Rosgeologia and other Russian companies, I believe. I don't remember the exact names, but all of this is available on the website. There are corresponding documents where they express this desire in their communication, which specific aircraft they need, and any additional details for their operations. We can't do it for everyone, or rather, we will create a universal option, but of course there will be companies that will say, I need something like this, specifically that 10 tons, but I need 12, and it should also perform this specific task. For example, it was resistant to the extremely cold temperatures, and I need such a specific variant. Accordingly, a separate order will be executed for it, which can also potentially generate additional profit within the framework of this company in a timely and efficient manner. If we essentially generalize this, ultimately, all aspects and elements will be under a single brand, under the brand of a unified company called Nova. Today, it currently has the ownership form of a limited liability company known as OO Nova, but in the future, it will be reorganized into a joint stock company. We will talk about this with you later. Why will this be done? In terms of financial gains, speaking of profits, how much this structure will bring, we are considering the potential revenue that this particular structure is expected to generate, and we have actually approached the point of what these funds are specifically planned to be spent on. Of course, this is not all the money. It includes expenses for marketing, for the referral program, for everything needed to promote, but within this budget, this will be implemented. Approximately this structure, even without considering the numerous external clients that may be around, could potentially lead to much greater profits. If we consider this option, specifically this business model, it turns out that such a company could earn somewhere around approximately $350–380 million and possibly even more. Accordingly, when we talk about the company's financial capitalization, we mean that in essence and fundamentally, we are strategically and fundamentally and essentially planning to achieve a financial valuation of $1 billion upon the implementation of all this. This is the simplest, so to speak, business calculation. We take 3 annual profits and get the valuation. In fact, of course, this valuation should be much higher. Why? Because, well, you know that as a rule, on the same stock market, a business is not worth just 3 annual profits. We know a huge number of options, especially in the American stock market, when a company is valued at 10, 20, 30, or 40 annual profits. 20, 30, 40 annual profits, 40 annual profits, 40 annual profits. Here, of course, the question arises, why buy a business that pays off in 40 years? But you see, people believe in this business, thinking that it will earn more and more. Investors are now being offered a potential stake in this exciting company, which is at the very beginning. Well, let's talk about this for a moment. No, let's do it this way. Before we talk about this, let me add something important. We are currently discussing the minimum viable model, which is crucial. Of course, when we talk about creating such a company, we do not plan to stop at simply producing 2 aircraft in any quantity and just making money. That means everything is fine. As we see from the experience of other companies, if we had just made even 2 airships and started taking people, tourists, I don't know, somewhere, perhaps in Russia, in Sochi, in some Sirius, we would already be earning a large amount of money. And we see this, for example, from the examples of other countries. But we are looking further into the foreseeable future, and in addition, we can also, with relative ease, do what I mentioned, as I have previously mentioned, but the scope of application can be significantly broader. What is planned to be done next in the near future? When we realize this with the stated amount, the company will start earning and will be able to exist without a cash influx from investors. From there, it will be able to develop independently. Of course, further development can also be pursued through investments. This option is also considered, as it is perfectly normal for a business to scale using borrowed funds. In this discussion, we will examine in detail and thoroughly the various facts, whether it will be required or absolutely necessary for the project. In any case, even if external investments are attracted for further development, it will no longer reduce or dilute the share of the existing stakeholders and investors in the company, because this money will be raised separately rather than all going into this, diluting these $100 million. What is intended and planned to be done next in the near future? As of now, everything is carefully laid out within the innovative company Nova, and at the very least, there is a clear vector of progress and development. The direction of movement is clear, and there are technologies in place to create 6 such types of devices. Then we have approximately 40 tons, or maybe even, I think, 20, 40, 200. I missed something and have already forgotten. Well, and the most interesting thing, I really missed something and have already forgotten. This is stratospheric. This is in fact a stratospheric airship that many countries are currently trying to build because it has a remarkable and significant economic effect in the field of aviation. A stratospheric airship can also be used for a variety of tasks, such as launching satellites into orbit, which is very expensive in itself. With the help of a stratospheric airship, this task is solved, and it becomes much, much cheaper. We are also moving in this direction. It is a very profitable and very interesting field, and there is an understanding of how to achieve this. But as I said, the second question is that starting a holding company with a stratospheric airship is certainly great, but difficult to implement. Because first we need to build at least this, and only then can we talk about the stratosphere, but we will move towards that. When I say that it is possible that investments will be attracted, it is possible that private funding will be used to create this apparatus separately. But these devices will, I hope this doesn't confuse you indeed, already be, let's say, within other companies, other legal entities. That is, it is called a holding structure. All similar companies exist within a holding structure. You can't put everything, design, production, all the devices and infrastructure into one company. That is, if you look at the carriers, for instance, the commercial passenger airlines, you will see that they are all organized under a holding structure. And here we will have, for example, a 20-ton apparatus. This company will be engaged with the 20-ton apparatus, it will earn its money, and give a part of that money to the investors, who, for instance, invest in it. But the remaining profit will indeed ultimately, eventually, in due course, be transferred to the parent company. In other words, the investors who are investing today are investing in the parent company and all future projects that will be created with support from or in any way connected to the new initiative. The new initiative will be associated with the founder everywhere, and accordingly, the funds will be transferred to the new one. To summarize and simplify what I just said, naturally the company does not stop at these 2 devices. Likely, it will further develop using its own funds. Like any business, it will grow and evolve. Her profits will grow and develop. Accordingly, people, even those who are currently calculating, oh, that means I will invest $1 now and earn, I don't know, 10, right? At the initial stage, the math may be truthful. Later, of course, this company will be valued at completely different figures because the company itself will develop and earn more and more in the future, substantially. Now let's talk in detail about what is specifically being offered directly to you, the investors, as potential and interested parties. Here, as you can clearly see, I showed you the diagram of the company Innova. It's not a very even circle, but still a little. We have 49% of the company Nova. It is being transferred to private investors. That is, it is somewhat being sold for approximately $100 million in total. Investors are putting approximately $100 million into the company, and around 49% of the project will go to the investors. For example, we could have 50,000 investors. Some have 1%, some have 2%, and some have 3%, depending on how much money you have invested. For example, you might see such as these. The question is, exactly how will you possibly, perhaps effectively and potentially obtain this 1% share in a strategic manner? Currently, Nova is a limited liability company, but it will then become a joint stock company. At the moment when the company Nova becomes a joint stock company, people will be able to receive shares of the company Nova. How is this done now? Currently, as a matter of fact, indeed, in reality, these 49% actually do belong to the company Solar Group. It's like a financial company that we, as you probably know, discussed in great detail today, where I, in a manner of speaking, so to speak, work as well. The company Solar Group currently owns 49%, and this company sells shares of itself, shares of Solar Group. That is, you buy shares of the company Solar Group today, and the company Solar Group has an asset in the form of 49% of the company Nova. That is, in fact, as of today, you already start owning a piece of the company Nova, but through an intermediary. This is done specifically in order to attract financial resources through collective investment methods, ensuring a broader appeal. This legal scheme, a framework, allows us to legally attract financing worldwide. That is why it is structured this way. In other words, shares cannot be sold directly. People wonder why we need Solar Group first. Maybe I would like to receive shares. Why is that not possible? Well, because the law does not allow it. In short, the way we do it is permissible. But then, since you have a share in Solar Group and Nova will become a joint stock company, Solar Group will receive approximately 49% of the joint stock company. For example, this will be in total 500 million shares. That is, Solar Group will receive 500 million shares, which means in essence Solar Group will have a significant stake. But at the same time, it is not essentially the shares of Solar Group that actually belong to them. They in fact belong to the investors. And the investors, for instance, have 50 billion shares. Well, you can determine or calculate the conversion rate yourself. Potential investors exchange their shares for stocks at the conversion rate and become direct owners of the company Nova, with all the, let's say, implications that come with it. For example, in other words, they gain ownership. How can you generate financial income from this? In essence, there are essentially two methods or approaches. The first way is capitalization, of course, as you might expect, when you acquire a portion or segment of a company that is just starting out, and then over time, this company begins to generate revenue or profit. Naturally, the value of this company changes quite significantly, and your share grows. Well, as you understand, you essentially invest in a startup, and then you own a genuine and real profitable business. The second direction for investors to gain returns is through receiving dividends. Since investors own half of the company, they are entitled to receive half of the dividends that the company will distribute to its shareholders. This means that if the company decides to distribute profit, investors will benefit proportionally to their ownership. In this scenario, it is important to note that everyone chooses for themselves here. The decision-making process is entirely up to the individual. You have the option to either retain your shares, which will allow you to receive dividends on an annual basis, or alternatively, once you have received the stocks and the company has been properly valued, you may choose to sell your stocks after the financing process has been successfully completed, thereby earning a speculative profit. This is a viable option that is available to us all. I would like to draw your attention to the very crucial and significant fact that you can purchase these shares today on our IT platform, Solar Group. There, you can read about all the extremely detailed and thoroughly comprehensive investment conditions. It's important to note that while you can purchase 1, 2, or even 3 shares, it is generally more advantageous to buy in larger quantities or bulk, as this often results in better financial outcomes. For example, you can choose a wholesale package for $500, and in it, I don't remember the exact calculations, but you can verify in your personal account. For approximately $500, you will receive 100,000 shares or so. That's it. Here you can buy such a package. However, the most important thing is that these $500, oh, by the way, I made a mistake. Yes, our minimum investment is $1,000, by the way. Yes, the minimum investment is $1,000, but you can take it in an installment plan. What does an installment plan mean? In essence, it means that you can pay not $1,000 at once, but simply agree with the company that you commit to paying, for instance, $100 a month. And after 10 months, accordingly, when you have contributed all $1,000, all your shares will be yours. Moreover, if you stop paying at some point, the shares you have already paid for will still remain yours. However, it is still more beneficial to pay the full amount, because the Libyan portion of the shares is included with the final payment. But again, what has been done is done. No one will take anything away from you. I would also like to draw attention to this very important and significant point. We have ourselves. The financing project is typically divided, as I said, generally into approximately 3 to 5 years, usually in duration. Approximately 3 to 5 years, and we expect roughly around 20 in total or so. Different stages in the process of financing. 20 various types of stages of financing and development. So, where exactly are we right now? At the zero stage, how is this currently possible in this context? The fact is that we are currently at the pre-launch stage of financing. Our project has not yet, you could say, started. We are literally creating and launching it right now, right in front of your very own eyes. This is precisely why the stage is specifically known as the pre-launch stage. What does this mean? It means that very soon we will move to the first stage and begin full financing of this project. We will have 20 stages. In general, what impact does this stage have? It significantly influences the investment conditions for the investor in various ways and overall environment. That is, naturally, when we are at stage 16 and, so to speak, GIMP here, for example, has already sent the first airship into the sky, right? Because the first airship is planned to be launched into the sky within a year from the start of the project. That is, of course, at the 16th stage. The risks and the overall state of the project are completely different from what they are now. Therefore, the risks of investing here are much, much lower for investors. Therefore, the investment conditions will be worse. Here, the investor is taking a significant risk. The airship has not yet taken off, so the risks are better. Your risk is compensated by such a venture premium. What is it called? Here. This venture premium is called a discount. And now we have what is called a discount of 1 to 1,000. What does a discount of 1 to 1,000 mean? It means that on average, for every dollar invested today, you receive an average of 1,000 shares. This is the investment condition of the zero stage. For every dollar, averaging 1,000 shares. The investment package matters. Some investors invest $1,000, while others invest $100,000. There will be varied prices. It is like this. What will happen at the first stage? In the initial phase of the investment process, the average monetary discount provided will amount to a total of 500 units for each and every single dollar that is invested by the participant. Accordingly, as soon as we start full financing, the investment conditions for investors, so to speak, worsen exactly by 2 times. Please note this, that is 1,500. In my opinion, the significant difference that we observe here is quite clear, and it is evident that we have conditions which are approximately twice as attractive as those in the initial stage. The question remains, why is that the case? I think it is obvious that at this moment, yes, we are still in the preparatory stage, and there is still much that is unclear, many questions. At the same time, simultaneously, there are individuals who are eager to make financial investments. Moreover, these favorable conditions help to offset the various risks that people are facing in today's world. Today, people invest in the most dedicated individuals, those who believe in Solar Group, who are confident that everything will be fine, who know our results from the first project and understand that we will definitely achieve our goals here. But many will invest here in the 10th stage when they kill the first airship. That's great too. And some will definitely invest only at 16 because there are absolutely no risks or dangers here anymore. Therefore, everyone chooses in their own way what they want. And please take note that these conditions I am mentioning very carefully are for those who may have already invested. These packages that you are taking now at the pre-launch stage, with a typical average discount of 1,000, cannot be increased in the future, and nothing can be done with them at all. But very soon, in the near future, we will significantly open the increase in the number of available packages and options for the pre-start packages, for our valued customers. But this can indeed only be done until the very first funding phase begins. Once it actually starts, these particular packages can no longer be increased. This is especially true during the initial stages. So think carefully and thoroughly about whether you have indeed made the amount of investment that you thoroughly and meticulously planned as you initially planned. Well, dear friends, that's probably it in essence, in its entirety, in a nutshell. We can also add, yes, about the legal structure of our organization. Right now, at this moment in time, we have a company that is officially registered in the Union of Comoros. Comoros. In general, a company that is typically registered in Comoros is often considered an offshore company. Yes, and many often ask themselves why it is done this way. You might wonder, I'm talking about that very solar group in particular, because we operate all over the world. We need a properly licensed and certified company that will give us the opportunity to legally attract investments worldwide from various regions and countries, and reputable. And this is a great option to comply with the legal requirements of all countries, such as in regions around the world, including Russia, in order to fully and effectively ensure compliance. Moreover, such a financing scheme allows us to legally eliminate some investment taxes, which is also entirely feasible. At the same time, and potentially, those who ask, what about offshore? Well, as you know, we have a one-of-a-kind offshore, and our money from the offshore goes to Russia. I think this also needs to be understood. In any case, our company operates within the financial law of the United Kingdom and legally. It is considered the most reliable in the world. It protects both Russians, and even now it is doing so. It protects all our other investors and those from other countries. And, by the way, in terms of the number of investors, Russia is not in first place. Today, India is in first place. Then comes Russia, Vietnam. In other words, we have Russia at approximately 30 or 40%, or even less. I don't remember exactly anymore. In general, Russia is an important market for us, but not the only one, so to speak. Of course, a contract is signed with each investor. Investment, therefore, all obligations, rights, responsibilities, duties, and liabilities, everything is thoroughly documented in the contract. Well, friends, what I would like to say to you, the project is indeed very interesting. Before we started focusing on airships, believe me, we looked through a huge number of various ideas, businesses, and everything else that could interest us. And it is precisely this theme that, the more we immersed ourselves in it, we understood that this is exactly what we need. And we are confident that very soon there will be other companies that will do this, just as it is already being done all over the world. And this industry will undoubtedly develop in the future. The question is, will we develop it or not? And when we indeed answered the question for ourselves that absolutely yes, we will develop it, then we launched this project. The question is, at this particular moment in time, since a particular type of airship race has begun in the world, who will win it? And now we have a great opportunity to ensure that Russia is among the world leaders in this area by focusing on our strengths in technology and innovation. We are lucky that we have absolutely everything for this. Russia has a very strong engineering school, and Russia has the largest number of engineers in the world. Russia has a very large, historically extensive and comprehensive experience in the field of airship technology, as well as in aviation in general. And so we have the absolutely fundamental and crucial foundations that are necessary and important for us to succeed. Moreover, we must and will undoubtedly succeed because, first and foremost, it is absolutely necessary for us, without a doubt. Indeed, this is crucial and essential. I think you know that Russia is the largest country in the world, and that this country has many hard-to-reach regions, especially in winter. It has been said repeatedly by many experts and analysts in various fields that a vast and expansive country like Russia, with its immense geographical size and diverse regions, cannot exist without a reliable, efficient, and cost-effective system of cheap and accessible transportation. If we talk about roads, railways, and of course air travel, small aviation, such as private planes, was very well developed in the Soviet Union. Now we constantly receive messages that there is a small airport in our city, an airfield, which is abandoned and not used by anyone, except for maybe once a year when some crop duster lands there, and that's it. They say, let's bring airships to us. Therefore, having such a company here in Russia and having such flying machines, we can really help the country, not just earn money for ourselves, but also solve one of the global problems that we are aware of, not only us, but also people in the government. since discussions about airship topics have already started at the governmental level. So, dear friends, we invite you to do this together with us. We are confident that we will succeed. And here, since you are watching this broadcast, you are also interested in it. Well then, as is usually the case, the question is only one. Will you join the project now, seeing what is available and trusting, so to speak, the information you have today? Or will you perhaps wait a bit longer? But I'm sure that one way or another, you will either become an investor in the project, or you will hear about us again. You will definitely hear about us in the media. I personally bet that as soon as this highly anticipated and eagerly awaited event happens, as soon as the very first airship, which has been the subject of much speculation and excitement, takes off into the vast open sky, it will be like a bomb going off, creating a massive impact. Because the media, which is always on the lookout for sensational stories, will write extensively about it, and everyone, from experts to enthusiasts, will talk about it. And I think you will definitely have something to be absolutely proud of if you kindly support this project. So friends, please join in and feel free to ask your questions. You can certainly write your questions in the chat section on vContactor, on Rutube and on YouTube. I will definitely watch everywhere. And please, absolutely don't forget to like this stream and repost. And I will not stop being absolutely amazed, yes indeed, why it is undoubtedly necessary to constantly talk about this, to remind, since we are all interested in the active development of the project. So, well, let's move on to the next set of questions that we have meticulously, thoughtfully, and thoroughly prepared for you. Look, today I am hosting this broadcast alone, although previously we usually did it with Fedor Konstantinov. But Fedor is already here in the office, so if I find any technical questions now, I can call Fedor and he will answer your questions. So feel free to write your technical questions and we will get to them later. Artyom writes, again without Fyodor, we wish him a speedy recovery. Artyom, thank you very much. Yes, Fyodor has already recovered, but he simply couldn't be present at the beginning today, so we agreed to proceed without him. Well, as I said, if there are any technical questions for Fyodor regarding the airship, you can ask them. We can invite Fyodor to answer them if needed. What guarantees are there for the return of money? Do you even understand that serious guys can put you to the test if you mess up? Victor, well, look, there are plenty of serious guys here too. Let's start with that. If we're talking about guarantees for the return of money, there are no guarantees. I'm telling you this honestly. Just as there are absolutely no guarantees that if you buy shares of Apple tomorrow, you will get your money back. Do you have any guarantees when you buy stocks? What guarantees do you have? People bought American stocks. Yes, the guarantees were through the roof. And then what? Then suddenly all the stocks were frozen. So, right, if there are definitely people here who have invested in foreign stocks with huge guarantees from brokers, from the government, or from anyone you absolutely want, right? Certainly, without a doubt, this is undoubtedly the case. There were indeed guarantees from depositories in all countries of the world, and then they went and obstructed American stocks. How is that possible, right? However, they have blocked tens of billions of dollars. So, friends, when you talk about guarantees, think about who is guaranteeing what to you and why they are doing it. We can only talk about certain probabilities to a certain extent. Will we do it if there is sufficient funding? Of course, we definitely will. I personally have absolutely no doubts that the airship will take off, that we have enough competencies to operate these flying machines. Here, in principle, everything will be fine. The question is, where can we make mistakes? In fact, where we can stumble upon hidden pitfalls. If we knew about them, we would certainly not trip over them. Therefore, we do not know about the real hidden pitfalls. Can they be? They can. That is the nature of risks. Therefore, there can be no guarantees. What guarantee is there that someone will not go now, slip on the stairs and fall? There are no guarantees at all. Therefore, from the perspective of all the options that may occur, which we are, in one way or another, laying out, everything has been calculated. It is clear how to work with this, and we will work with it. Well, what can we do? There are plans B, C, and V. As for what is generally promised or not promised to investors, we are not promised any profits anywhere. Nothing is guaranteed, as you wrote. We have a contract that clearly regulates the relationships between the company's investors and specifies the responsibilities, duties, and obligations each party assumes. I can only say during, let's put it this way, what guarantees I can give you, so to speak, perhaps. I can absolutely guarantee you that the money invested in the project will definitely and undoubtedly be used for the successful development and creation of innovative airships. I can most certainly guarantee you that. Indeed, everything else, as they say, is in God's hands. So, if you absolutely need guarantees, I can definitely recommend this to you without any hesitation. Come here. Yes, there definitely won't be investment conditions that are more unfavorable than they are now, but still, this will absolutely provide you with a certain guarantee. At what stage will it be possible to sell shares in airships? Look, Sergey, this will be possible only after all stages are completed, after the financing is finished, and after the company becomes a joint stock company, which I talked about today. You will receive shares, and after that you will be able to sell these shares. I would like to formally and respectfully propose to name the airships with the Russian word vozdukholod, airship. By the way, at the last webinar, or was it not the last one, just a week ago then, Fyodor indeed said perhaps suggest a Russian name. Go ahead, why not? So, will there be an internal exchange in the project? Look, well, within the framework of this project, we haven't talked about an internal exchange yet, but I think it's a good mechanism. It's quite possible that we will launch it. We will also see how it performs in the Duyunov engine project. I think everything should be fine in principle. Well, of course, such a good tool with a good background. Why not implement it here as well? Therefore, I think we will do it. Organizational and legal aspects of the extensive airships project in depth. What is the organizational and legal form of the airship project now? Well, you see, the organizational and legal form is basically similar to what we have in the Duyunov engine project. Let me say this again. Let's take a moment to revisit the slide to ensure we understand the details and can remember the key points. So we have an investor, right? Let's draw the investor. And there is the company Solar Group. This transaction involves a financial exchange where between Solar Group and the investor, who is an individual or entity, that is, the investor transfers funds to Solar Group, a company, and in return, the investor relinquishes ownership of shares. Essentially, this means that a person who holds shares is transferring their ownership rights to another party. Solar Group, a major entity in the renewable energy industry, owns a significant 49% stake in Nova, a company recognized for its innovative approaches in solar technology. This strategic partnership, this company Nova, is a well-established and reputable Russian company. It is currently a limited liability company. And it is owned 49% by the company Solar Group, which is a significant portion of its total shares and represents a strategic partnership. Solar Group is an offshore company that is registered in Comoros. I have already mentioned this today. All documents related to this company, including the license and permission to operate, are available in the public domain. Everything is there. Naturally, a contract is also concluded between the investor and the company. What does this contract, which is being concluded, say? The contract states that the investor enters into an agreement with Solar Group, yes, acquiring its shares. However, Solar Group is obliged to transfer shares of the newly created company. Accordingly, it must do so. That is, essentially, it is a contract for a loan, which is commonly referred to as a so-called convertible loan. Well, accordingly, in a manner of speaking, after the new company is transformed into a joint stock company, this can essentially be done. This will be done in due time, following the completion of the 20th stage as planned. That's approximately about it. That is, essentially, you also own a share in Solar Group, and Solar Group owns a share in the company Nova. Where exactly does the money from Solar Group go? Look, I have carefully, thoroughly, and in detail drawn this scheme for you. What you are essentially saying is that you have, in essence, made 3 payments. Basically, in other words, since Solar Group is, as you may already be aware, indeed an international company, it is connected to, more precisely, it is not necessarily that it is an international company. In principle, any company can operate this way. There is indeed such a thing as a payment agent, right? A payment agent, in other words, is acquiring, so it's a company that, such as for instance, accepts money, like Sberbank, you have an account at Sberbank, right? In accordance with the established procedures, the funds that are deposited into this specific account are allocated directly and exclusively to the project in question. Therefore, a payment agent acquiring payment system, call it what you want, is simply a financial intermediary through which funds are transferred. In principle, I have described the process to you. Victor was wrong. He said they won't say this. They don't know it. For some reason, Victor thinks we are hiding something, even though I just described everything, mentioned the payment agent. But if you want, I can explain in more detail. In principle, we have never discussed this in any webinar, so 1 share is 100 parts, right? Well, it turns out to be like this, yes, if it's roughly 50, probably about 10 shares or so, or maybe even something similar or something like that. Not 100, but 10, Sergey. It is written, of course, the airship will take off. If they were made before, then they will be made now. Yes, regarding airships, for those people who are skeptical about the project, believing that the airship will not take off, well, that is certainly a very strange position. For some inexplicable, mysterious and unexplainable reason, it took off about 100 years ago, but now it won't. Of course, it wasn't just 100 years ago that airships took off. There were commercially successful companies in the airship industry in the 1990s and early 2000s, including in Russia. But just as a fact, indeed, yes, the technologies, let's say, certainly allow for the construction of such flying vehicles. Are these investments subject to tax? Natalia, please clarify what you mean. Does the company Nova have its own business? Vitaly, what does it mean that the company Nova has its own business? The company Nova is indeed the company that will build airships. This is its business, if you are wondering. So, I looked at the questions on YouTube. I am currently on vContakte, and now I am switching to YouTube. What do we have with the government commission? Well, as I understand it, it's about the Suvalmash project, which is in process. We are waiting for news with as much eagerness as you are. Do you have a minimum program? What if you raise 50 million in 5 years? Will you not proceed with shareholding? Investors who take on the risks will not become shareholders, as the project is venture-based. Well, you see, look, the minimum program that we have here. Can we do the share issuance at an earlier time? Well, in general, technically, it is possible at this point in time. So, if I understand this correctly, the question is generally speaking about what we will do if you invest now, but for some reason the funding takes longer than planned, say, for instance, 7 years, right? How will investors receive shares then? We will talk about this honestly, transparently, and openly with you. Yes, anything can happen with such an investment project. Here we are, you the audience, we are partners, and we are the people who are making this project with our own hands. That's why we, as you can clearly understand, do absolutely everything to indeed make sure that everything is completely and precisely as it should be. But somewhere, perhaps something might not just happen as naturally, yes, like anything else in this life, in this world, in this universe. If we assume that funding is delayed, then theoretically we can allow those people who have already invested to participate in the process, conduct a share offering in a manner that is both efficient and effective, and give them shares, ensuring transparency and fairness throughout to all parties involved. This can be done. In this specific scenario, we will come to the realization that, for instance, we will allocate a significant portion of 25% to the investors after a substantial period of 5 years, which is a strategic decision made to maximize potential returns. Currently, 24% of the shares will remain with Solar Group, ensuring stability and continuity. Moreover, Solar Group is committed to its growth strategy and will continue to actively seek and attract new funding opportunities from various investors. And those investors who are at this very moment investing at the pre-launch stage will already receive their shares and will be happy to continue supporting the project at this exciting and promising opportunity in this venture. Is it possible to do this? Yes, there are absolutely no problems at all. This is regarding the potential scenarios and options. Everything is indeed done to achieve profit as soon as possible. Absolutely every person, anyone who is in business, especially in such a project, is interested in making a profit. Just now, for example, 2 weeks ago, there was a scientific and technical council, and they were developing the concept of the first aircraft. Everyone was talking about the fact that it should have commercial potential. This is not just an instrument for refining technologies in any way, although that is also necessary. It must have commercial potential, because everyone understands that money needs to be earned right away. There is a task at hand and a desire to start earning money right away. Therefore, if it works out, and I am confident it will, some money can be earned, of course, before the project is 100% completed. We have built one hangar. Can we earn money from it? Yes, of course we can. While the second hangar is being constructed, we can sell some initial devices. I am absolutely confident that it will, without a doubt, indeed certainly be so. Dividends can already be distributed. That is, even if Solar Group owns 49% here, the new entity will transfer dividends to Solar Group, and Solar Group will distribute them to the investors. Therefore, this can also be done. We talked about this in the webinars, that dividends could come before the funding is completed. Here, another question arises. Is this reasonable? And then people divided into two camps. Some said, yes, we need dividends faster, while others said, no, if the money comes in, it's better to reinvest it in projects. So how should we proceed here? Well, we will tackle problems as they arise, although it's hard to call dividends a problem, but still, we'll deal with them as they come. There are countless options. Everything is possible. We are very flexible, and we are interested in maintaining our reputation, doing everything to ensure that people, so to speak, like working with us. So if people say, hey, you made your first profit, let's pay dividends, we will certainly indeed absolutely pay. Will the company Nova remain the same or just change its name? Dmitry didn't quite understand. Where is it supposed to change its name to? The company Nova, just so you understand, is the company Sobolmash, yes, in the first project. Where is it supposed to go on that day? Why does it need to be renamed to? Duyunov had several stages. In the case of underfunding the project's development, investors faced risks, understanding that there would be a minimum return. Well, you see, I understood about that. Minimum stage, maximum stage. In other words, the minimum plan is essentially to rent an office and fully assemble the team. Purchase the equipment, that's your minimum plan. Because you see, work is already starting to heat up. It is already possible to take on external orders. Work is currently underway not only on airships, but also on various stratospheric devices. By the way, the first device is expected to be launched soon. I hope everything goes well. So yes, there are indeed many stages. Is it absolutely possible to focus on just one mailing, on just one device? Certainly. Sure. Why not? If this device can earn some money, why not? In the context of our discussion, it is important to note that therefore, if we talk about certain benchmarks below which we cannot fall, these steps certainly exist. We just haven't discussed them publicly. These are indeed in place. However, further details remain undisclosed. But can we somehow formalize this in a clear and understandable way so that it is clear to everyone, so that everyone can easily understand? Will there be an internal exchange? I have already mentioned this. I think yes, indeed. Let's see how this tool will work. The first aircraft is indeed to be named Spherius or Spherus. In the previous broadcast, where we were with Boris Alexandrovich Ivchenko, we had an in-depth discussion about the potential name of the new aircraft model and explored various possibilities for its designation in the aviation industry, and there was a mention of the name Nova 2, which was quite intriguing. Why Nova 2? Well, as you might already know, it's traditionally named that way. The company is Nova, and the 2 is because of the year 2000. It has a volume in cubic units, therefore for now this name is considered preliminary. A small Aeromaster, a large Stratomaster. Quite possible. A question for Pavel. How are things? Things are great. I'm conducting a webinar. It's not boring. It's actually quite fun. How is it going with the government commission? Are we making progress towards our goal? I already mentioned that everything is in process. Sergey is responding to you. Let's read his response. On the 11th, the commission completed its work, and on the 15th, we received the protocols with comments. Currently, work is underway to address them. Dmitry Alexandrovich does not provide details because he doesn't want to jinx it. As you can see, Sergey gave a more detailed answer. I told you that everything, as they say, is in process, but I also didn't lie. There are no questions. Everything is clear and correct, and we will succeed together. We are strong. Mikhail, thank you very much for your support. I am confident that it will be just as it is. I am also looking at VContact. According to your scheme, it is not entirely clear when the fundraising will end. The number of shares will double, as the shares will need to be increased for the new company, and consequently, the value of each share will decrease. No, not quite like that, but you see, take another look. SOLARGROUP is issuing its shares, meaning these shares are somewhat independent, let's say. They are not related to that half, right, regarding what you mentioned about dilution. Because, you know, a total of 1 billion shares are planned. There will be a total of 1 billion shares. The capitalization is $1 billion. So, there it is, right? $1 billion in pieces. Well, in short, I think you got it. Accordingly, for these 49%, well, conditionally, how much is allocated? 490 million shares. These 490 million shares will be exchanged for 50 billion stakes. Well, something like that, but I will tell you right away that these figures are still very preliminary. These figures may very likely change, especially when it comes to the mathematics of shares, stakes, and everything else, and other related aspects. Because at this very moment, we are trying to understand if our business metrics will align here. That's why we say this is a pre-launch stage. Much of it still does not have a set doctrine, so to speak. It is necessary to compile a list and hold a vote. Those who are ready to reinvest their finances without receiving investments should have their funds directed accordingly. Those who do not want it will ultimately and certainly receive it in the form of investments or dividends. Yes, we have already thought about voting on whether to reinvest the first potential profits or to distribute the money as dividends to the investors, to divide it. Those who want dividends will receive them, while those who want to reinvest their dividends effectively increase their investment through those dividends. You simply do not receive the dividends in cash. We take them and immediately invest them back into the project. In fact, I am absolutely sure that the financial gains will undoubtedly come before the project is completed. Because, as we discussed today, it is possible to earn money even from the first airship launch, and to earn from related projects with potential clients. The question is simply about the volume of these profits. Will it be possible to earn some big money right away? It's kind of a question, not having completed the whole project. I mean, But getting some money is like launching an airship. the airship will definitely take off. The question is not about building the airship. We have the task of launching an entire industry together. It includes a very large number of elements. With the launch. When I first encountered this project, I naturally knew nothing about airships. Even now, I cannot indeed call myself an expert. Maybe I just hear and see things more than others, which is why I can comment on certain questions. But naturally, that doesn't make me an airship engineer. But now, my circle of understanding and comprehension is much wider, encompassing a broader range of knowledge and insight. At the very beginning, I also thought indeed what a truly quite challenging and intricate endeavor it is to successfully raise such a massive and impressive airship. All the airship engineers indeed told me roughly the same thing, that the simplest task within this project is to absolutely and definitely lift the airship. That's the easiest part. Selling an airship there, setting up mass production of airships, building the infrastructure, negotiating with this party and that party, this is complicated. It's difficult to gather everyone together, even in one office. We have already talked about this, that there are many talented engineers in our country, and in particular many talented airship engineers. And even though these airship engineers have already worked in the same teams, subordinating to each other and learning to work together over the years and continue to do so, time goes on. Everyone is indeed busy with their own affairs. First of all, secondly, they all have their own ideas. What kind of shell should we make from these materials? Where should we make it? Should we manufacture it? Should we buy it in China? Maybe buy it in Taiwan? What shape? Common cigar-shaped forms or elongated, flattened? In the shape of a plate, as someone suggested now, but it seems like those options have already been dismissed. Although, who knows, I am not an airship engineer. Everyone has their own solutions, and the most difficult part of this project, at least for now, is to bring everyone together, attract the best minds and the best teams to this project, and make sure they collaborate effectively. And so that they can go in a common direction together as a cohesive unit rather than each going their own way. Therefore, during the first 2 months, the Nova team focused on this. They bonded, learned to listen to each other, and worked together. So now let me just take a moment to see. I will check vKontakte and YouTube. I have replied to everything there and ensure absolutely everything is done. So, friends, while I open Rutube, write, like, repost, and share with your friends and family, in general, do everything to show your activity to help us reach a wider audience so that as many people as possible watch our broadcasts and ensure that our content is seen by as many people as possible. Your support is crucial for our success. It's interesting to know who is watching on Rutube, so please leave a comment or like the video to understand if there is any activity here, because the number of viewers is not displayed. I really don't understand if anyone is actually watching, whether people are watching here, but there is some kind of question here. Balloons? So we will make balloons, such as stratospheric balloons, and various types of launchers, only airships, and other related equipment. Look, the company Nova plans to engage not only in airships. Yes, that is indeed the main direction, but the company is currently very interested in the field of stratosphere as such, and therefore, parallelly, using the competencies and developments of the existing team, they are indeed developing their own stratospheric devices. What exactly is this object and what purpose does it serve? This is a unique and specialized small balloon designed with advanced technology that has the remarkable ability to remain suspended in the sky for an extended period of time. It is crafted to withstand various atmospheric conditions, ensuring its longevity and functionality in the air. If I understand correctly, he can stay there for a year or two. Why might he be there? As you may already understand, if you deploy a whole group of them, it indeed becomes a sort of alternative to satellites. How in fact are satellites used? Why do they fly? I think you understand perfectly. Again, military purposes and intelligence purposes, as well as communication and weather reports. Everything you want. And for example, this is also extremely relevant for Russia. There are several companies in Russia that are currently engaged in this, because again, you see, Russia seems to have been created for such projects, so to speak, because of the very large distances, vast expanses, hard to reach regions, and regions with unstable or even no communication. Here we can create such an alternative, let's say, to satellites, which are much more affordable and inexpensive, but essentially perform all the same tasks. And now the first experimental developments are being made in this direction. Let's see what comes of it. In fact, this may be where the company can start to earn its first money. Literally within the next few weeks, the first device from Nova, specifically a stratospheric one, should be launched. Yes, it will be a test launch and we will try to cover it. Here, I don't really want to mention specific dates because in fact we had planned to launch last Saturday, but in the end we decided not to launch and to prepare instead. Moreover, in addition to that, favorable weather is also needed as well to see this device, right? Furthermore, additionally, there is a concept and idea that this device will potentially and continuously broadcast live directly from the stratosphere via the internet or the World Wide Web. Yes, this is the idea we have. Someone might be wondering how you managed to create a system for broadcasting from there, right? Well, we were able to do it. We assembled this system ourselves. We achieved this. We have such specialists. And there is this idea to launch the first stratospheric device and make a broadcast directly from there. As you understand, this is potentially very cool, or as they say now, a hype, a buzz. So far, no one has done this, partly because other companies do not have similar technical solutions. This is a complex technical solution. And we will try to do this. So we are waiting for good weather, waiting for the opportunity to launch. I hope that we will manage to do this before the conference. Well, as we wrap up our broadcast, it seems I have answered the questions. Since I have already mentioned the conference, I would like to invite you to it. I remind you that on November 16th, there will be a large, important international conference of the Solar Group in Moscow. At this conference, we will discuss in detail how things are going in the projects that we are promoting today and provide updates. We will, of course, talk about the investment platform Solar Group itself, how we are currently working, changing, and what issues we are addressing, so to speak, related to the launch of the second investment project within our investment platform. And I definitely recommend that you indeed come to this conference, especially if you are very interested in both the SOLARGROUP project and the airship generation project, because we will be discussing both. In general, we have a very interesting Solar Group phase. You could say there is absolutely no time to be bored because our first project, SOLARGROUP, is gradually coming to an end. We are currently undergoing a state commission in order for the enterprise to have the ability to launch. And we move on to the final stage of financing. The projects for the new generation airship are just beginning for us. They are starting before your eyes. And just about the same way, roughly around the same time, it is anticipated that approximately by the end of the year, in the upcoming months, we are confident that we will change the transition phase in our innovative and advanced next generation airship project. But there we will already move on to the first stage. So in the first project, we reach the last stage, while in the second project, we start at the first stage. Such is the symbolism, such is our transitional period. And it's great that I can say it's great that the company Solar Group is developing. And we will discuss all of this on November 16th at the conference in Moscow. The only thing, friends, is that our venue has a limited capacity. I'll let you in on a secret. We already have more than 400 registrations. Therefore, I think we will have to close registration soon. But we will still call everyone who registered and figure out who is coming or not, and understand how many spots we have left. Plus, we have a foreign delegation coming, and employees from Solar Group will also be here. In general, we are coming to the understanding that a hall for 500 people is too small for us. It fills up literally in a couple of weeks. but that's great, really great. Thank you very much indeed for truly supporting us. Solar Group is you. Yes, the people who truly support these projects. It's great that we are achieving all of this together. I am sure that we will raise more than one project together. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like. Please send this link to your friends, colleagues, and partners. Let them watch the recordings later, wherever it's convenient for them. Well, see you on Thursday. And on Thursday, we have news about the next Generation Airships project. We will have a guest on Thursday, one of the designers from Dirigibles, with whom we will discuss various interesting technical topics. Come to ask your questions. We will see you at 5 o'clock on Thursday. Thank you all, and goodbye.